Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Big League Breakdowns. Today, we are going to discuss the trade that sends Rafael Devers to the San Francisco Giants. My name is Tyler, your host, my co-hosts, John and Will, Robert Morrison, the producer. And boys, this was a shocking trade. Although maybe not in the sense that you thought Devers was potentially going to get a change of scenery. I don't know if this fast after the aftermath of the stuff in spring training, the signing of Bregman, but he's gone, and the Red Sox lose a one of the best hitters in the AL out of their lineup. I guess uh, I'll quickly go over just recapping the trade again if you haven't somehow seen it in the sport. Devers goes to the Giants for Jordan Hicks, Kyle Harrison, James Tibbs, and Jose Bayo. Will, what is your snap reaction to this trade in general?
I guess in a sense it was kind of eventually going to happen because it was just problem after problem between Devers and the Red Sox front office. But the Red Sox also I felt like just kind of did him dirty in the end. Um I'm not there's I guess questions you could say about in the long haul, or say long haul, though it could be just for 1 year. Was it better to have Bregman or Devers? But the signing was weird to begin with, only in that you were going to then put someone out of a position they were used to. They weren't used to. And just it turned out that Devers just was there's a lot of backlash from Devers about wanting to move from after the team signed Bregman, and then when it happened again after the injury to was it Casas, and about whether
Yeah.
he would play first, and he said no. And I also think it's funny now that Devers with the Giants has either has started or has said he's going to start taking some grounders at first. So therefore, there's something else definitely that was going on deep within the organization than just simply this move. So um, could be the best thing for both teams in the end, but it was a big surprise when it happened.
Yeah, and the Red Sox do get some nice pieces back. James Tibbs was the first round pick for the Giants last year. Kyle Harrison was once a top prospect for them. Jordan Hicks, we'll see if he can give some reliability to that bullpen, which has also been shaky again this year. Um, but John, again, this is one of the best hitters in baseball. He's going to a team in the Giants who we've kind of already touched on as a team that may be exceeding expectations a little bit, but now they're starting to put a lineup together that can definitely compete.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Buster Posey, he is going for it. He really is going for it on this one. There is nothing that can really stop this team outside of maybe their maybe injuries or their pitching coming back down to earth. In terms of this trade in general, I don't know what the Red Sox, I don't know what's going on over there. They essentially traded arguably the best hitter in the American League, or in the American League at the time, excuse me, for a bag of balls and some peanuts. You know, Hicks currently has an ERA of 6.47, and is either coming off the IL or is on the IL, going into a rehab start. Um, Kyle Harrison, who really got did dirty in this trade because he went from starting on Sunday Night Baseball against the Dodgers to being sent down to AAA for the Red Sox. Then you have James Tibbs, who he's already in a crowded outfield with the Red Sox, but he's batting 245 with 12 home runs in High A, and is performing well in Double A. And then yeah, Jose Bayo, sorry, uh, who is a prospect with a 2 ERA, currently in rookie ball. You have to really ask yourself the question of why is it that the Red Sox are making this move? Like, what is going on behind the scenes over there that really, you know, force their hand in this sense? I mean, Devers didn't help them out in reality. He really didn't help them out and say, "Oh yeah, I'll do whatever the organization wants me to do. I want to be a Red Sox, whatever." But at the same time, like Will said, they did him dirty by bringing in Alex Bregman after they signed Devers to what was it, uh,
It was like an
13,
8-year, or no, he was at 8 years left, so I guess it was something
12
double
years. I
digits.
think it was either 11 or was it 11 or 12 years? I know it was 331 million. I think.
10
10 years,
300
313.
plus.
Okay. Well, I'm my dyslexic ass. Anyway, uh, so the Giants are eating that contract, but the Giants can afford to do that. So when you spend that money on that player, on a player like that, you are keeping them around for the long haul. And this isn't the first time the Red Sox have made a quote unquote boneheaded trade like this. I mean, they sent Mookie Betts to the Dodgers. They sent Chris Sale to the Braves. They didn't re-sign Xander Bogaerts. They didn't re-sign Alex Verdugo, Tyler O'Neill. The list goes on here with these key pieces to the Red Sox of their 2018 run to the World Series, and you're left with questions because you don't think that a team like the Red Sox, who has an absorbent amount of money, can't afford to pay all of these guys.
Yeah, but in the same token, if Devers was unhappy, and I don't think he directly asked, I don't think he directly asked for a trade, but there was reports like he was like basically wanting a change of scenery without actually asking.
Well,
I
here's my question for you: would you be happy when they deliberately
well,
bring in your replacement?
right, and that's what I'm going to get to
You
is
have a $31 million contract. You're not being replaced.
He was replaced.
But
No, he
so
wasn't. He had a 10-year,
At 30, he
$31
was
million
replaced.
contract. They expected him to do more. That's all he
They
wanted.
expected him to have some flexibility, even if it was just
Yes.
simply wanting to do DH, and just getting him to do that was like pulling teeth.
I mean, there
Which,
was
why
definitely
would you say
disconnect.
no to that?
There was disconnect between him and the management of, maybe they almost went out on the assumption that, hey, he'll be a team guy, he'll play DH for us because he's obviously would be a great DH candidate. But I think really for him, and everybody's like, oh, well, now he's going to the Giants and he'll play first base. I think he
Eventually.
yeah, well, eventually, but in his mind, he wasn't doing that for the Red Sox just out of spite because, again, they kind of went behind his back and didn't really maybe consult him on this Bregman trade or signing and stuff like that. So I think he just has spite toward the Red Sox, and that's why he's doing it. It shouldn't really be a surprise that he goes to the Giants and he's like, "Oh, I'll play wherever you want," because he was promised in his mind, he was promised that third base was his when he signed that contract. And that promise was broken when they brought Bregman in. He felt betrayed. So I think if you're the Red Sox, yes, it sucks to trade somebody like Devers. I just don't know how much of a choice you had in the fact that obviously he's under contract for a billion more years, but if he's going to be imagining he's one of the leaders in that clubhouse, if he's going to have a negative attitude toward everything, and maybe there's some discontent with Bregman and stuff like that, I think you had to get rid of him. And not for nothing, they kind of desperately need pitching. It feels like we always talk about them and pitching, but at least they got Hicks. Yeah, again, it maybe is a patch guy for their bullpen, but Harrison, having he's only 23 years old. Bayo, we'll see if he turns in anything. So I think it's not ideal for the Red Sox, but they got something out of it. At least they're not paying a contract to a guy who doesn't want to be there. And they got some prospects. And for the Giants, of course, it's a great trade. You got somebody who can solidify that lineup. So
I mean, do we think so? I have a quick thing to add on to this before we completely move on away from Devers fully and talk about kind of where the Red Sox stand now. But like, can a couple things be true at the same time where it's like, it's probably a bad thing that the Red Sox probably didn't tell Devers that they were going to sign Bregman, but at the same time, with the type of contract that Bregman had, which was only 3 years, and then the type of contract that Devers had, where he was signed in for the long term, that it's not completely unreasonable to ask him to be a little bit more flexible, even if it was like he's going to be the DH. You're getting paid $300 some million to be a DH. Why is he saying no to that? You really want to be on the corner that bad? Like I'm
I
so
mean,
confused by
there
this.
there definitely is, and I don't know. Again, I if I was in the clubhouse,
Yeah, well, I
obviously I'd
mean, we're
know.
never gonna know.
Like there is, from the outsider's perspective, there is a little bit of like diva-esque stuff going on from Devers. Just because, Bregman has this contract and it's a 3-year deal, but remember he has opt-outs after this year and next, so he might be gone by the end of the
Given what the Red
season.
Sox are doing, he might say, "Peace. I don't want to be
Yeah.
stuck with mommy daddy issues."
Right. So, uh, is it maybe Devers again not being a team player? I don't know. I think in his mind, of course, he's the cornerstone of that team, right? He is their best player. He is what drives that team, and for them to kind of go out and sign a guy, because remember we were all like, "All right, is Bregman, I guess, going to play second?" Like because, and I think a lot of people in the media also assumed, "All right, well, Devers will go to DH, Devers will go to first. They'll find something." But again, Devers must have been promised something, or at least he felt so that he had the right to third base and that he wasn't going to back down, and it was this whole thing, and then it seemed like it ironed itself out, but it was kind of a lose-lose situation, I think, for the Red Sox. I would be interested to know though, like kind of what you're saying, like did the Red Sox really just screw themselves by like the signing for Bregman? Like, is that really,
For
what
this year,
happened?
probably.
Yeah.
Especially since Bregman, I don't think he's come back from the IL, correct?
Well, he's coming back, like I said, July potentially for him to come
So,
back.
yeah. So for this year, probably. For coming years, who knows? I mean, again, are the Red Sox, maybe if they throw money at their problems here and say to Bregman, hey, if you stick around, you get this. Maybe he'll stick around. But I mean, I think Will's right. Mommy and daddy issues, Alex Bregman might be like, nope, I'm going to go somewhere to actually a contender who has their shit together.
And it just sucks
And
too,
that's
because
crazy to say
were
that
they
about the
even
Red Sox.
yeah,
were they even projected to be that competitive going into this year? Like,
The
I mean,
Reds-
obviously,
I
with
A
Devers
lot
and
of
saw
people
Bregman.
had them as
picks.
wild card teams.
yeah, I had him in
mainly
a wild
because
card.
of
I would say, but they were
And-
never going to win the division because the Yankees are in there. So it was just
some
more of a
people may
question
have
of everything
considered
held
it
up.
after the Cole injury for
Sure.
the Yankees, but
I was one
I
of them.
think it was more of that the Red Sox were like kind of clawing back, and they had brought in Crochet to a already plethora of
A couple games
options,
over
and their
500.
offense
Then
took a big jump. Yeah, so I think people thought it could be enough, but the bullpen was what was probably still shaky.
And that's the
I
thing.
saw
probably
some
better to
people
shake it
picking the
down
Red
now
Sox.
then.
I saw some people picking the Red Sox to be the AL representative in the World Series.
I think
So
I might have honestly done that. I can't remember
That's
now. I'd have to
crazy.
look back.
That's
'Cause
crazy.
I wasn't,
I thought so at the time too,
because
but here we are.
nothing in the AL really stood out to me. I remember the AL really struggled with, because when Cole went out with the injury for the Yankees, and I had questions about their lineup. Maybe it was the Orioles I had. I don't know.
Well,
Obviously
the
the Orioles.
NL is pretty easy. Odds
Yeah,
are
right.
beat Dodgers or Mets.
I think I probably said like Dodgers, Red Sox, and the
You
thing
backing
is,
off your
like,
Tigers was the worst thing you did.
I know,
I know that much.
I really, really,
We're never gonna
really
let you
is.
live that down.
I know.
They are no longer suffering from the Johnson curse.
I literally hopped on the bandwagon when it was okay to, and then I hopped off, and now I can't hop back on. I can't do that. That looks really bad. But
It
no,
doesn't matter. Who cares?
regardless, for the Red Sox though, like right now, 8-2 in their last 10. They're 2 games over 500. Like they're in this race. And to have to trade away, one of your best players obviously is a big deal. Let's first talk about the Giants, in this situation, because the Giants are now, they didn't have a great series against the Dodgers, but they
Also, the Dodgers.
they are in it, and this is a huge bat for them. Well, the pitching has been good for them all year. It was their offense that needed to pick it up. I think they were like 20th in team
They were
offense. So
middle to bottom third or
yeah,
something
so
like that. Yeah.
now they get somebody in. So what does this do for their team?
It solidifies the offense. I mean, getting the major league leader at the time of the trade in RBIs obviously should have some perks to it, barring he doesn't transition poorly to the West Coast. The Giants had proven through the first couple months of the season that their pitching is going to be fantastic this season. That just seems to be a constant. If they want to get to the next level, they need to have some production from the offense, and not even like top third in baseball production. If they can be middle of the pack, that could be enough to get them a wild card spot. That's what they were in the first month of the season, mainly riding a bunch of extra base hits. They slipped off in May. They started hot in June. They've kind of backed off now, but they're still 7, 8 games or so over 500. So if Devers can be someone that, just like what he was in Boston, he doesn't necessarily need to hit 30 home runs, but if he can drive in for the rest of the season, I'm saying this, like 50, 60 RBIs, then he's going to be the clutch piece that they need to help keep them afloat and get them into the postseason. And if their pitching can keep it up in the postseason, they could easily be a dangerous team that could go deep.
Well, what this allows them to do, this move for the Giants, is obviously you can plug in once Chapman comes back, you can plug in Devers to first or DH, and it allows Wilmer Flores to play the other position. Because right now they've been, but he's having a good year, and they were platooning Dominic Smith and Encarnacion. Now they can kind of again put Wilmer in one of those spots, and again, it's a scary proposition. I mean, this year for Devers, slashing slash line is 272, 401, 498. He's got 15 homers. And if you remember, like he started the year so bad. He started the year 0 for 23. Eventually got his average up to 225 in April, but like it was not great. And then May, like he seems to do every year, he tore it up. 356, 468, 606, 7 home runs and 1 dot at the OPS. And you're getting that consistent performer if you're the Giants that has done it throughout his career and still only 28 years old. Like as John said, they have the money to spend to afford a guy like this. And I had said before, the Giants are one of the big spending teams, or it seems like they want to be, but it seems like they never they do land free agents, but they don't land the big free agents that make a difference. Hey, man, one way to get good players into your team is if you have the resources of the trade for them, and they have the money to spend on that contract. This is a great deal for the Giants. That's not only going to help them this year, but going forward. So this was a great pickup for them. John, I mean, you've seen Devers in the AL for a while now. I'm sure it's relief to see him out of the division.
Oh, that's an understatement. That guy was a terror. Oh my God. Like it just earlier this season, it was an extras and literally it was a 3-0 count to him and he knocks in the winning run. And it's like, all right, why did you even bother pitching to him? Come on. So it's the amount of frustration that he caused me and my team personally is an understatement, in all honesty. Overall, though, I think that Will hit the nail on the head here with it solidifies that offense. It really helps them compete against that potent Dodgers lineup for the division. If they really want to go for it, it helps them. I think this locks them into a wild card spot, not just for this year, but for the following years. Because a lot of the teams three of the teams in the East in the NL are down. Only one team's coming out of the Central. So, and it doesn't look like the Diamondbacks are necessarily going to be, how do I put this? It doesn't look like the Diamondbacks are, going to be contenders this year. And that's also me saying that in June. So, we'll see after the trade deadline, but this is big for the Giants.
And you kind of look at this lineup now for the Giants, right? Like you have Chapman, who's having a nice year. You have Elliot Ramos, who continues to grow. Now you put Devers in that lineup. You have Adames. You have Jung Ho Lee. Like this is a good team with that pitching. So definitely look out for them going forward. On the other side of the coin for the Red Sox, again, we can talk ad nauseum about how much it's going to hurt losing a guy like Devers. But now I think the question that needs to be asked is what is the next step for them? Of course, Bregman's still out right now. And as we've already talked about, basically can get out of that contract after this year. They just sent down Christian Campbell, who they were really hopeful for. They get Kyle Harrison in the trade. And as you said, John, move him right down to AAA. But again, a guy who was a former third-round pick that has potential. He's still only 23 years old. So, Will, what is the direction for the Red Sox at this point? I mean, again, they're 2 games over 500. They can obviously keep chugging along, but now they have some questions that they have to answer.
I think it's let the young guys play. They had said that part of the Devers move too was to kind of open up the DH spot as a way to rotate some young guys around. So I think at this point they overall have underperformed expectations, even though they're still in it. And part of that is just because of what they've done in the last 10 games. But I think that they just want to develop the young guys. That's the big thing. They're giving them the opportunities. Yes, they sent down Campbell. I think it was necessary given his performance for the last month and a half. Um, it's not going to last the entire season unless he bombs or gets hurt in the minors. Harrison's just sent down so he can kind of find his groove again, and they'll call him back up. And once they kind of evaluate where the young guys are after this year, that's going to dictate if they now take that money that they have freed themselves on getting rid of Devers and spend it on something else. Hopefully, they're a little wiser than just simply pushing some random schmuck out of their position. But I mean, I think that the Red Sox will be fine, and if the young guys can all kind of come out the gate swinging close to expectations and they could be a sneaky team. I think that's probably asking a little too much, given that there's multiple teams that are very competitive in that division. But I think, but the young guy, it's all about the future now. Get out the toxic player and let the young guys play.
I think the big question now too is what are they going to do in the offseason? Because let's say these guys, let's say hypothetically these guys pan out enough where they're comfortable with going into next season with them. Talking about Roman Anthony, if Campbell comes back up, Marcelo Mayer. If these guys pan out and say Bregman opts out of that contract, they're gonna have a lot of money to play with, and that could get interesting again if these guys, and that's a big if these guys can develop throughout this year where they're a little bit more potent next year. But I think that makes the Red Sox like scary. Like yes, they just traded away Devers, and that hurts a lot. But you do have extra money, and Will is on it about who's going to be up next year for free agents that maybe they can bring in. But Abreu there as well, like another younger guy that can potentially continue to grow, although he's been injured this year. So not out of the question that the Red Sox can get back into the conversation next year and again maybe even further through this year. But John, looking at this team as is, do you think they do fall off, or do you think they can still compete for that wild card?
No, I don't think they can compete for the wild card. I think there's too many AL teams that are better than them now, that will continue to be better than them. The smartest thing is to do what Will said and let the young kids play. Um, and as far as next year is concerned, Tyler, look, here's the reality. The Red Sox right now have, at least I think they have a negative aura around them, for lack of a better term. And if I'm a high market free agent, regardless of how much they offer, I'm not looking necessarily to the Red Sox if somebody else can match a deal by them because of this situation and how this affects Alex Bregman and really and I honestly think that all depends on his decision will really depend on the amount of free agent signings that they get, because if he's ready to dip out, then something's up within that organization. I mean, let's be honest. Their current
Don't lie to
GM,
me.
their current GM is not the one that signed the Devers contract, so I understand if he didn't want it on the books anymore. But he was your best player. He was the face of your franchise, and you just let him walk essentially for a bag of balls. Not literally let him walk because obviously you traded him, but like you got nothing in return for him. You got a lot of question marks.
Well,
So I don't think that was smart.
So Bregman's going to be interesting because I don't think it's out of the question he resigns with the Red Sox, for a couple of reasons. Because he probably knows they can bring in a bunch of guys in the offseason to better their team. Also, he's owed $40 million next year, so that's a pretty good reason to stay. Um, so I don't know. I mean, Will, have you found anybody that would be intriguing for the Red Sox for the offseason? Because again, they're going to
I'm
have
trying to
a lot of
decide what
money.
hole to fill. Um,
Well, that's like again in my mind,
Kyle Schwarber if the Phillies don't sign him.
if the Phillies don't sign Schwarber, I don't think there's going to be a Phillies team next year. So I may not just
No, you're
this
right.
podcast. But
I mean, to be fair,
bullpen's the immediate thing to look at because
Yeah.
like your closer option is Chapman. Odds are they'll probably trade him if they're any hesitation about them being in it. And so there's multiple closer options next year that are bigger names because you have Devin Williams as a free agent. You have Ryan Helsley as a free agent. I mean,
to
even
be
the
fair, they
new,
do need a DH next year.
Well, I guess my question
all right.
is,
So if they want to keep rotating guys, kind of like was hinted at, then no, they don't necessarily need a DH. They would need someone that they just need to figure out what the rotation is. I mean, I assume that Casas next year will be the projected first baseman, and I assume that Campbell will start the season at second. So at least your infield is kind of set. Even if they don't bring back, or even if I should say, if Bregman opts out and he isn't re-signed by the Red Sox, I guess Marcelo Mayer will be the third baseman if they want to still go with the whole young thing. So I mean, it's hard to say the exact thing. I think yes, someone that they probably will go for a big bat if Alonso backs out of his deal with the Mets. He'd probably be a very attractive piece to them. Like you said, if Schwarber doesn't re-sign with the Phillies, and that's a big one for them. So
I mean, my question with the DH would be, they're talking about like, having Anthony being one of the staples there. Cause like, I thought he was a pretty good defender, or at least that's what he was projected. So I was like, I thought he was going to be in the outfield for them, but it sounds like they kind of have a lot of guys that could be DH and maybe they need to not specifically look for one, but I don't know. Like, I guess they have options, which is good for
I think
them.
it all revolves around what Bregman does now offensively.
Yeah.
I do think if Bregman chooses to stay in Boston, then for the most part, offensively, they're done. It
Yeah.
would seem a little weird, but I mean, they
It
have
makes
so many young
sense.
guys and so many opportunities. Yeah, they keep him. And then you can have some type of rotation, probably with about 3 different players that you could rotate in and out of DH and playing in the field. And then you can put all your resources in that case into bolstering probably bullpen first and pitching depth second.
Yeah.
Because you'll still have 4 guys that you would consider effective if healthy, and then you'd have probably 2 guys at least that would be depth behind them. So I think the Red Sox success is all about how the young guys develop and if Bregman stays or walks.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's true, like what you said, because again, if they're set on their young guys, you got Campbell, Mayer, Anthony, Abreu, I would say, is in that conversation. If Bregman comes back, that's 5 spots that you are certain that you want these guys to be playing,
right?
And Duran, right? So what you got?
Rafaela, and yeah.
Well, I'm saying like in terms of the certain guys that you would definitely want playing. Like if you want these guys to develop, they need to play. That's 6 spots that are basically filled. 6, 7 spots. So you have like 2 guys maybe you'd look to on the offense side. But I agree. I think you take that money and you rebuild that bullpen because it needs it. Maybe they can go out and sign another high end starter. I'm not sure, but I think that's where the resources go. And then if these guys can develop, that's great. If Bregman doesn't sign, I don't know. It would be interesting to see if they kind of just throw money at the biggest guys and see who signs. But more of the story for me is Devers leaving this team hurts, but it's not
And maybe a
over.
silver lining in the long haul.
Right.
It's a dagger now, but it could end up being rather productive in the span of the next 5 years.
Yeah, I guess my whole thing is, you let go of a player like that, it hurts, but you now have that money freed up, and you have such a good prospect pool that it might not matter in 2 or 3 years. So we'll see what happens, but obviously huge news in the league. And we'll see what Devers can do on the Giants. As we kind of said, I believe that makes the Giants a really nice contender to at least get in that wild card spot. And then once you get into the dance, anything can happen. So I think that is all we have to talk about today on this one. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us at BL breakdowns, big league breakdowns everywhere else. Make sure to like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel for more, and we will see you next time.
Wear your seatbelt.
Strawberries.